Hey guys, Prangell Gaming here. Welcome back to Talk the Wall. Now, this is the 11th installment, and today we're getting right into your responses and any questions you may have had. But first, if you haven't seen the other 10 installments, then why not check them out? There is going to be a link in the description of this video for the last Talk the Wall, and you could also access the playlist by clicking the I button. But as always, if you have any questions or opinions, do feel free to put them in the comment section of this video because I want a Millwall voice throughout. Also, don't forget to put your score predictions for the Southend game. That's obviously a big one, a derby game for us, in the comment section of this video, with also what you felt went right and wrong in that match once the game has finished. But do bear in mind that I did record this on the Tuesday, so if anything has become outdated or if any new news stories has appeared on Millwall, I will cover them next week. So we'll start with the score predictions, and 7 of you sent in your predictions, which I believe is the highest amount I've ever received on a Talk the Wall. And this was obviously for the Millwall versus Coventry game. So I'm going to start with the highest scoreline prediction, and that was by Ronnie Makile. He predicted that the game would end 4-1. So unfortunately that result was way too high, and Coventry obviously did score. That's the only thing that you can take from your prediction there. Next was Joe Holloway, and he thought the scoreline would end just a little bit lower in 3-1 to Millwall. It was closer, but again, it wasn't the exact scoreline. Now, the next scoreline that everyone predicted was 2-1, and 4 of you actually said this. And it wasn't a bad prediction, to be fair. I honestly was tempted to go with that one. And the people that predicted this was It's Hardcore, Ronnie Lucan, Harry CD, and Elite She. Now, Ronnie Lucan and Harry CD also added the players they expected to score. For Ronnie Lucan, he said Steve Morrison and Shane Ferguson. Obviously, Morrison did get the assist, so it wasn't too far off with one of those predictions there. And Harry CD said that Byron Webster and Lee Gregory would get the goals. Obviously, he expected Lee Gregory to play in that game. And then the final person to comment in terms of you guys commenting was Red Army TV, and he said that the score would end 1-0 to Millwall, and it would be really close, just one goal for us in that game. And obviously he was only the Coventry goal off of the right result, so very, very unlucky there. I also predicted the scoreline, and I thought it'd end 2-0 to Millwall. Again, I was wrong, obviously, but I wasn't so far off, and we did get a point. It's not the worst case scenario. We definitely could have ended up not getting anything in that game. So I'm going to start with what you guys said in the comments section of the last Talk the Ball. And the first person I'm going to talk about is Elite She, and he said Aidan O'Brien looked unfit in the Bradford game, so if Gregory's still not fit, then we should play Fred because he looked good in the Bradford game. Now, what I think of this is, while Fred did look pretty good actually, he still has far too much to learn and probably would be a liability in terms of starting, or at least maybe a wild card, so maybe it could work in our favour, but I just don't know. It's too early to call on some of these players. We need to try Harry Smith, we need to try Jamie Philpott. They're not getting the right time that they need, and I really think we do have some good prospects there. Jamie Philpott looks fantastic, and we still haven't really turned an eye towards him. He's just been getting 2 minutes of football, if that, in certain games. I know he played in some of the cups, but still, it's not acceptable. And over Fred, I probably would prefer O'Brien, but there are only some reasons to go with that. That Aidan's a little bit more experienced. He scored a little bit more goals last season, and the only problem is that Morrison and O'Brien don't really link up well together. So all I can say to this is the sooner Gregory gets back, obviously the better. Now, the next person to comment was Red Army TV, and he said, in regards to Jordan Archer, this is what he said. He didn't have the best day at Wembley, but he is a great goalkeeper. So if any of you don't know, Red Army TV is a Barnsley fan, or as far as I know he is, and it is good to see teams above Millwall recognising key Millwall players. And on the talk of actually Jordan Archer, I can't remember whether I told you that he had actually signed that contract, so that is a sense of security for Millwall in terms of the quality players need to stay with us, so obviously that's also good to hear. Now, the next person to say something was Harry CD, and he said, what are your thoughts on West Ham reportedly bidding £2 million for Marlon Romeo despite the transfer window being shut? Now, this is hard, obviously, because West Ham are our rivals. I don't really like the fact that it's Marlon Romeo, obviously, but I can kind of understand and sympathise with West Ham for the fact that they have done it, because if you think about it, they have one of the best youth academies in England, so you can kind of understand why they would want to actually strengthen this. And Marlon would more than likely succeed if he was to go there, as he is a huge importance to the Millwall team, and even if he went to another club, I think he's going to do fantastic. But West Ham would obviously only have to offer around about 5 million for him. That's my opinion. That's the way the market's going. He's quality. We need him. And that would mean that we could have a replacement in for about half the money, because we know Millwall don't spend all the money. And as Marlon has so much to go ahead of him in this career, he's so young still, I still think that no matter where he went, he could succeed. He could be one of the players that goes on to do big things, obviously, if he leaves us. And I do think that he could be Premier League quality in the future. That's one thing just to note there. Now, finally, Gabriel Townsend added something very similar to what Elite She said. And he said, in my opinion, O'Brien was the worst player on the pitch. We would have won if Gregory wasn't injured. So I'm just going to have to say, maybe you might have been right there, but weaker players can only get better if they play. That's all I can sympathise with you there. I'm a Mill fan as well. I see everyone's frustrations. O'Brien really hasn't performed since the big times where he was actually scoring some decent goals. Frustrating, I know, but what can we do? There's not really much we can do. We're not Neil Harris. We can't make any immediate changes ourselves. What about the game we played? Millwall played obviously against Coventry on Saturday, and while we only got the 1-1 draw, it was better playing the football we did and getting the point rather than not, because at stages I really was concerned that we didn't have any strikers playing on that pitch. None of them really knew what to do, where to put the ball, and well, I just broke down a few stats here. So we've got the fact that we had 11 shots and only 3 on target. That is really embarrassing against a team that are 23rd. I know that they aren't a bad side that much, really. They had a very good season last year, and so I think that they really will get back to that eventually. It's just going to take time, but it was pretty shambolic. I'm not going to lie. I was very, very frustrated. I know I've had a few things where I've talked about the positives because I'm just trying to see the positives out of it. There are some decent things that we've done in that game, but also the negative sides, and I've just got to be realistic. There was needed to be a lot of help there. We needed someone that could score the goals, and well, we better hope that Lee Gregory can come in and fix the striking issue at the moment, because no one really is scoring. Now, in terms of the goal scorer, it was Aidan O'Brien, and it was assisted by Steve Morrison, and that at least saved the game, to be honest. If we had lost that game, it would have been very, very disastrous. The fans really, I know that we would have really hated it. I honestly know. I was looking at the game and I was just very, very angry with the fact that it was so long for us to score in that game. We should have scored straight away. We shouldn't be waiting for the team to score before kicking a bit in us. I mean, we didn't play bad at points, but we shouldn't be conceding goals from outside the box. Again, I'm just frustrated because of that. Now, on to the Millwall news. And, well, Lee Gregory has ended his doubts over his future at Millwall by agreeing a new contract, which will see him at the club till the summer of 2018. Now, when Lee Gregory returns from his injury, he will be able to make his 100th appearance for the club. And while talking about Lee Gregory, he is now able to have a full week of training ahead of his hopeful return to the away game against Southend United, and we will need him there. We will need his goals against a rival team, no doubt. Now, what about Shaun Cummings? He actually has played his first competitive game in over 7 months as he featured for the Millwall under-23s. I don't know why it's under-23s. I'm still so used to it being under-21s, but we'll go with it. And he played against the Birmingham side, actually at their ground, St Andrews, on Monday night. And it's been the first time that he's played since, obviously, February, when he had that injury and had to have his operation to repair his cartilage damage in his knee. And he did have some knock-on effects that meant he was out for a longer period, but it looks like he might be back now. So we can slowly but surely see him getting back into the team and see whether he can challenge Marlon Romeo for a spot. But while we're talking about the game against Birmingham, it ended 2-2. Harry Smith got one of the goals for us, and the other goal was by, I believe, the captain for the Millwall under-23s, Paul Rooney. He obviously got the equalising goal, and that was very, very good. I was very happy with that. Paul Rooney looks to be pretty good, I'm not going to lie. Now, with Cummings, he did feature for the full 90 minutes, so I think that if he just gets more training, he might get another match, and then he could be ready to return. Now, the final news of this Talk the Wall is about the fact that Renewal have been granted the compulsory purchase order on the land around Millwall Stadium, the Den. This happened last Tuesday night, and what this means is they can now buy the land, so we're going to have some ongoing talks between us and Renewal over what is going to happen. But I don't really know too much about it, but I know there could be a lot of businesses going to be closed down or moved away depending on what obviously happens. And what happened here was Peter Garston, I believe he's Mill's fan on the board, he was actually at the event. He was disappointed, but he said he would fight it along with the help of other fans and other people that could get involved, like Gary Lineker. He was actually involved in the Save the Den campaign. I saw him tweet it out a few times, so I'm very grateful for that. Hopefully we can sort this issue out sooner rather than later. But since this news has obviously been announced, a lot of newspapers have actually picked up on this story, and some television channels like the BBC and a few others, I think ITV may have covered it. So that's pretty good that they're getting it out there, letting know what's happening. Hopefully more people can get on board and it can be successful and we can do what we need to do. But honestly, that's all I really know about it. If you do know anything about this, then do feel free to let me know in the comment section of this Talk the Wall. And obviously I'll keep you guys updated with this story as it progresses throughout the weeks. So that is all we got time for today at least. Do feel free to put your questions and opinions in the comment section for the next Talk the Wall. However, before I go, don't forget to put your score predictions for the Southend game in the comment section, as next week I'll be covering the game and highlighting the good and bad points of that match. And I want you guys to tell me what you felt went right and wrong in that match as well. So like, comment, subscribe, and of course I'll see you guys in the next Talk the Wall. Goodbye.